Hey there, eighth graders. So all of last week, all of week 8 was all about learning slope. So much slope. So actually at this point, you are like this close to being ready for an assessment on slope. But since today's a Monday and it's a new week and we want to make sure we didn't lose anything over the weekend, we are going to do one more practice first. So what do you need? You need a blank piece of paper. What do you do with this blank piece of paper? You start folding it, as we have done many times. We're going to fold it in half. Get a nice crease there. We're going to fold it in half again. Now you're this size. We're going to fold it in half once more. And then actually, we're not going to use every single one of these boxes, but we're going to need some of them. I'll show you what I mean in just a second, but I want you to fold it one more time. You watching closely? I want you to fold it this way. Not to get these long skinny ones, but this way. Okay, and I'm going to use my surface here to get a nice flat crease. We won't need that for every single one, but we'll need it for some, and we're going to set it up in a way where we kind of trick our brains to feel like we have more done than. You guys seem to work better if the front side has more problems and then you flip to the back and you're like, oh, I'm almost done. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Open it up, and then we're going to label some stuff. Okay, let's label this paper. On the top, right up here, I'm going to put it right on the top here. I'm going to say slope, round robin. You'll see maybe in a moment why it's called that. Makes a little more sense why it's called that when we have physical actual cards in front of us, but that's not a thing we can do right now, and that's okay. So here's what we're going to do. On the front, we are going to use every box, and I'm going to number them. I'm going to put this as box. I'm going to go up here so I have space. This is box 1. Whoa, drop my pen. So can you see, it's hard to see my folds sometimes, but you should have folds that go right here. So this is a box for number 1. And then we're going to keep going across. There's number 2 on the crease there. Here's 3 and 4. So we're going to get 4 across on each of these rows. So this will be 5, 6, 7, 8. There's a crease right there. If you can't see it, that's what I'm using to guide me here. And then there's 9. That's my crease there. I didn't fold it flat enough. 10, 11, 12. And then we're going to have 13, 14, 15, and 16. So you're going to do problems 1 through 16 on the front. Now on the back, we don't actually need 16 more. We don't have 32 of these to do. So on the back, if you're not quite ready, you can pause out. On the back, we're using this entire space as 1. So it'll just go by 2s back here. So this will be 17, and then jump all the way over here for 18. Because we don't need all of these boxes. And then we're going to come down here for 19 and 20. And then we have 21, 22, and the last ones we need are 23 and 24. So we have the smaller boxes on the front to fit 16 of them on the front, and then when you're done with the front, you can flip over and be like, only 8 more. Okay, now let's check out what we are seeing on your Canvas page so that you understand what this paper is for, and I'm going to help you get started. Okay, so let me switch screens here. Okay, here we are in your Canvas assignment. It says we're on this part, do this second. So you're watching the video right now. That was the do this first part. You're currently in the middle of that, and we're going to start this, do the second part. It says work through the rest of the cards, showing all of your work and answers on your paper. Okay, did you find all of your answers and get back to your starting card? What does that mean? I want to make sure we understand what that means before we move on. So I'm going to call this problem number 1, just so that we can all write in box number 1 together. But the thing I have to warn you of right now is that this is problem number 1, but this is not necessarily problem number 2. You are not going to work these cards in order. You're in fact not going to know what order to go in until you start finding the slope. So again, right back to this one. And if you know how to zoom in on your screen on your Chromebook, that could help with some of these graphs. I'm going to show you with my mouse here. I'm going to find the slope of this graph. Okay, in finding slope in this standard, you have to be able to find slope from a graph, from a table, and from 2 ordered pairs. That is what we're practicing today because that is what is on your assessment. So by the end of this practice today, you should feel totally ready for a test on slope. That's the goal of this. Okay, so I'm going to look at this blue line here. Lots of little squares. If I zoomed in, I could see it, but I see a corner right here, and it looks to me like there's a corner right here. Okay, I always count that movement at least twice to make sure I keep hitting corners, because if I don't keep hitting corners, then I didn't really have a corner in the first place. So if I can see, can you guys see all these tiny little boxes? This goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 3. Now, if this really is a corner, then up 5 over 3 should work again and land me on another corner. If it doesn't, I was off. So I always test it out at least twice. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I am still on a corner. Okay. What's the slope then? Up 5 over 3, up 5 over 3. Oh, well, does it match this answer? It most certainly does not. Okay, so what are we doing on our paper? Let me take you back to that other screen and show you. Okay, the first thing I'm actually going to do, and I'll tell you why in a second, but I'm actually going to write on this card that I'm starting with, I'm going to put in a box up here, I'm going to say M equals, and I'm going to look back at my canvas real quick and see what was on that card. M equals -3 over 2. And I'm going to put that in a box up here. Okay? I need to keep that in mind as I work. M equals -3 over 2. Now that is not the answer that I just got to the graph I was looking at. Okay? So I just wrote that up there for future reference, and I'll tell you why in a minute. What I'm going to write on my paper here is the answer I actually got. And I'm just going to make a note to myself so I can kind of keep track of the cards I'm working on. I'm going to say, okay, number 1 was a graph. I don't need to try and sketch the graph. I'm just going to tell myself it was a graph. And the slope that I got was up 5 over 3. Okay, it definitely did not match this answer. But guess what? It definitely does match one of the answers on another card. So this is the slope that I got for number 1. That answer is going to tell me which card I need to move to next. Back to this. Okay, so the answer that I got was 5/3. Look at all the answers in these cards until you reach one. Oh, look right here, 5/3. That means I am going to this card next. Okay. So I haven't done these other cards yet. I'm moving to this card now. So whatever answer you get on the card you're working on tells you which card to go to next. All right. So this one, I'm going to write on my paper. I'm going to write down the 2 ordered pairs. All right. Let me show you that. All right. Back to this paper. This is the card I moved to. I'm going to write the 2 ordered pairs right here. 10, -6 and -5, 4. Got a little squishy there. Maybe I should come down here. But those are the 2 ordered pairs. I'm going to write that down for myself. Just like I wrote down here, okay, this one was a graph because that would be hard to draw, but I'm going to tell myself because I need to kind of keep track of which cards I've done. This card right here has 2 ordered pairs. Okay, now I'm ready to show my work on this. So this, to find the slope here, I need to remember this is x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. I'm going to use the slope formula. Ready? Fitting it in this box right here. y2 minus y1 over, watch all your signs closely, x2 minus x1. Okay, I know minus a negative is really a plus. We worked on that a lot last week. So this is actually 4 plus 6, which is 10. 4 plus 6 is 10. Down here, -5 minus 10 is -15. And now, of course, I need to simplify it. And as you worked on a lot last week, if either of these are negative, then the whole fraction is just negative. Those are both divisible by 5, so this is -2/3, which of course is not the answer that was on the card I just worked. It's an answer on a different card. So now we're going back to these cards, -2/3. And okay, that's not it. That's not the first one. -2/3. Ooh, right here. Okay, so now I know I'm working on this card. So now I'm going to write on my paper those two ordered pairs, 7, 3 and -3, 0. I'm going to write them down on my paper. I'm going to do the slope formula. Once I get that answer, it will tell me which card I go to next. How do you know if you've done this thing correctly? Well, that's why we wrote down this first card's slope. Two things should happen for you to know that you did this right. The first thing that should happen is you should absolutely be able to complete all 24 of them before getting back to this original slope. If at any point you get an answer of -3/2 and you haven't filled in all 24 of your boxes, something went wrong somewhere. So the first thing that should happen is you should get through all 24 of them. They should all lead to each other in one way or another. The second thing that should happen is when you get to box number 24, you better get an answer of -3/2. It's why it's called a round robin, because they all connect to each other and the last one connects you right back around to the first one. Okay, so keep working through these slope here. You will take pictures of your work and submit it so I can see all the great slope work that you're doing. But again, the two things that should happen if you do this correctly is you should get through all 24 of them. They should all lead to all 24 of them. And that last box 24 had better get you an answer that brings you back to this first one. Let your math teacher know if you have any questions, and good luck practicing your slope.